I'm Dr. Laurie McCauley from Optimum Pet Vitality, and in this session, I want to talk to you about acupuncture. Acupuncture is amazing. It's been around for thousands of years, and it's great for getting rid of pain associated with arthritis. Sometimes people think it's scary just because we're using needles. In the olden days, they used fish bones and all kinds of crazy things. Now we use sterile, very sharp, not super cutty needles. I want to show you so it's not scary for you. So this is an acupuncture needle. They usually come in packages, like this. They can come 1 to a package like this, or 5 or 10, and then you open them up, and a lot of doctors use tubes. So this is the tube, right? So here's the needle. You can see that it's super, super fine, a little bit thicker than a hair, and they do come in different thicknesses. The bigger the thickness, the more the effect, maybe a little bit less comfortable. So you have to find a balance. They can have tips that are blue and plastic, or silver or bronze, all different kinds. And it's just different companies. It's how they make them. It's the feel of the person putting it in that gets to choose. So now that you're not afraid of the needle, and they do come in different lengths too. They can be 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 1.5. For horses, they can even be like 6 inches long. It's crazy, but it works. So they come in a tube. Why do they have a tube? Because you only have so many nerve endings per area of skin. So if you remember when you were a kid and somebody would touch you with 1 finger or 2 fingers, and sometimes they would touch you with 2 fingers, especially on your back, and you couldn't tell if it was 1 or 2 fingers, it's the same thing. A lot of times when we use the tubes, I can hold it like this, and I put the tube on the dog or cat or whatever animal you're treating or pet you have, and then you tap the needle in, and then when you do that, the pet is feeling the tube and they feel the needle less. Now, if you want them to feel it even less, what you can do is touch them. So again, your brain can only handle so much information, your pet's brain. So if you are scratching them somewhere, then they're going to feel that needle go in less, especially if you're like a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit here, constantly changing different places. The brain can only process so much, so they feel it less. Acupuncture has been around for thousands of years. It came to the United States in the 1970s. There's been thousands and thousands of research articles on it. It is amazing for some things. So if I get a really bad infection, I can use acupuncture. I want antibiotics too. But for arthritis, acupuncture can do great things. When the doctor gets done with putting the needles in, you'll see a sharps container. It's something that collects the needles. So we can pop it in here. We put the needle in there. And then this way, it gets incinerated. There's no contamination. The other thing to know about acupuncture needles that I think is super important is they're totally different than hypodermic needles. Hypodermic needles are shaped like this. So they have a cutting point. So if you get a shot or you get blood drawn, you're going to bleed. When you use an acupuncture needle, you rarely bleed because the tip is like a pencil point. So it actually goes into the tissue and does what we call blunt dissection. So it pushes the tissue out of the way as the needle's going through. And then once it goes through, it turns on. It affects the cells underneath the skin to release all kinds of chemicals. And what's really cool is that there's different chemicals depending upon where you put the needles. And you can even get different effects depending upon how long you leave the needles in. So some points we may leave in for 6 to 8 minutes, some 10 to 12, some 15 to 25 minutes to have the effect we want. And there's over 365 points that are known in the dog, right? Kind of like days of the year. We also have points that are called ashi points. You don't have to remember the name. I think it's really funny because I think of the little man who is getting poked and he goes, that hurts, right? It's an ashi point. It means it's not on a meridian, so it's not on a line drawn on the dog, yet it's a point that's painful that when you put the needle in, disappears. Think about trigger points like that, and people can do needling in trigger points and help get rid of the pain. All right, that's a lot of information. Again, I'm Dr. Laurie McCauley with Optimum Pet Vitality. I hope you learned something. I hope you had fun. Don't be afraid of acupuncture. It's amazing for arthritis.